Hi, my name is Craig Perry, and this is my presentation for Exercise and Sport Psychology ESSC 12003. The topic of this presentation is to develop and describe how you would implement a coaching strategy to increase intrinsic motivation in youth sports participants ages 12 to 17 years old. Overview. During this presentation, I will define intrinsic motivation, how it differs to extrinsic motivation, and where it lies on the self-determination continuum. I will then answer the question as to why we would want to improve the intrinsic motivation in youth sports participants. I will review and discuss the 5 primary factors attributed to youth sports participants sticking with their chosen sport, and delve deeper into how these relate to the concept of intrinsic motivation. With each discussion of these primary factors, I will also describe coaching strategies aimed at improving them. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. According to Schneider and Kwon, 2013, intrinsic motivation is the desire to engage in an activity because it is inherently pleasurable. And Gillett, Vallerand, Mora, and Blades have a similar view, stating that intrinsic motivation is performing an activity for the pleasure and satisfaction derived from participation. Extrinsic motivation is participating in an activity for some sort of gain or as a means to some end. These two concepts are not mutually exclusive, however, and exist on a continuum, from motivation to extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation. A person can go from not being motivated to do something, to doing it for some gain, to doing it for the love of it. This process can go in the opposite direction as well, with a person loving the participation of the activity, to doing it for some gain, like money, to being completely devoid of motivation to do the task. This can be seen here with the self-determination continuum. Intrinsic motivation expanded. Intrinsic motivation, however, can be seen to have further connotations than just being the love of doing something. It has implications on the person's sense of self and how much control they have over their life. There is an underlying idea about intrinsic motivation that it is based on the person's desire to be self-determined, competent in their abilities, and in control of their own life. Yosar, Hine, and Hager believe that intrinsically motivated people focus more on controllable internal parts of their lives. This concept will be explored as to how it relates to coaching later in the presentation. Why increase intrinsic motivation? To answer this question, we first must ask, why do adolescents participate in sport and continue to do so? A review of studies and literature on the subject in 2013 found that there were 5 main factors that mediated participation: perception of competence, fun and enjoyment, parents, learning new skills, and friends and peers. A coaching strategy aimed at facilitating the increase of intrinsic motivation in youth sport participants will influence these factors, as we shall soon see, and therefore increase and improve participation. Perception of competence. According to Fraser, Thomas, Cote, and Deacon, youths 13 to 15 years old have entered the specialisation years of sports development, which means they have tried many different sports during primary school ages and now have settled down to a few they have more affinity with. When youths reach 16 years and older, they have reached the specialisation years, where they usually pick one sport they are going to focus on. Coaching programs need to take development of skills into account during design to ensure that the adolescent feels competent in their ability to perform them. Asking a 12-year-old to perform a skill from a 17-year-old level may lead to them feeling inadequate if they fail. However, feelings of competence leads to positivity, which leads to increased motivation to participate. Positive reinforcement from the coach is an important strategy that greatly improves the youth's perception of competence. Fun and enjoyment. This factor is multifaceted in that it encompasses many different elements and parts of the other factors as well. From performing activities that give the child freedom of expression, to learning challenging new skills, to engaging in activities that facilitate social interaction. There are many ways sporting activities can be fun, but one main theme prevails throughout. If it's not enjoyable to the youth to participate, they probably won't. Even though the idea of fun and enjoyment will vary from child to child, the coach should attempt to make sport participation enjoyable in some way for all. One strategy could be to make activities more fun for younger participants ages 12 to 14 years, and more challenging for older participants ages 15 to 17 years. Parents. Parents have a major impact on a child's participation in sport and their motivation to continue doing it. Under-involved parents can have a demotivating effect, whereas over-involved parents can put too much pressure on a child and make sport less enjoyable. If an attitude of emphasizing effort over winning is taken by both the coach and parents, the child is more likely to enjoy participating. An effective strategy for the coach to apply this could be having a meeting with parents pre-season to discuss what behaviour is expected from parents, coaches and players, or even implementing a code of conduct for all to follow. Learning new skills. This factor is related to perceptions of competence and fun and enjoyment. As previously stated, some children like to learn new skills as a challenge. Some like learning new skills because it makes them better at their chosen sport. And some like learning new skills because of the sensations of actually performing the movements. All these reasons can have a positive effect on intrinsic motivation. This area is straightforward for most coaches, as it is usually what they are best at. The main consideration for the coach is to ensure new skills are taught at the age and skill level of the group being coached. Friends and peers. Research has suggested that social interaction between friends and peers is a very important motivating factor in youth sports participation. Motivational levels are most affected by peers during late childhood and adolescence. So for our target group, this is a big factor. Peers motivate other adolescents through competitive behaviour and working together towards a common goal. Even though this area involves the youth participants and their peers, the coach can have a great influence on these relationships by treating all participants with the same positive attitude and reinforcement. By keeping all participants accountable to the team rules in a fair and honest manner, as well as the code of conduct discussed earlier, and not playing favourites. Summary. In summary, I've discussed 5 primary factors to focus a coaching strategy on to increase intrinsic motivation in youth sports participants. Using positive reinforcement to increase perceptions of competence, attempting to make sport fun, enjoyable and challenging, encouraging parents to be involved without being over-involved, and ensure the behaviour expectations of everyone is known in advance. Also to challenge the participants with new skills that are appropriate for their level, and encourage healthy competition and teamwork from the youth's teammates and peers.